Yeah,
Chaps, we've got Ryan. Ryan, I know you messaged a page the other day because you're in the Navy,
yeah, I was, yeah, for
mate.
12 years.
We've had one person from the Navy who's in the submarines.
Okay, so I was AWT on warships, so I was the in the ops room, um, tracking missiles, aircraft, and stuff.
That literally makes my anxiety hand squeezy just go. The thought of being trapped on a boat or even in a submarine for months on end, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah. So I've done 6 months, 7 months, and 8 months.
No, don't like it. Just the idea of stuff like that. So how come you message about? Give us an intro about yourself, mate. Why are we talking?
Yeah, so I saw your like charity, your man up, and that man up, that word is rolls in bold to me. Especially the fact, I struggle with my mental health from the military times, and now still do. But that man up, when you report to say your manager, which would be a chief or above in the navy, that man up would be used as a normal phrase. Yeah. So when you say, look, I don't feel well, I'm, a bit feeling a bit anxious or I'm feeling a bit low today, they would just say, man up, shit, mate, and get on with it. So that word, is very bold to me. And, as I was watching your video a minute ago on YouTube, it's also a question.
Yeah,
They should be asking, what's wrong or how are you, rather than just telling you to just get on with it and to man up and beat your big shoes on,
yeah, no,
if that would
absolutely.
make sense.
Do you think do you have much to do with the Navy anymore? Or
I do. I work in Up Courage Mental Health Service in Surrey, Sussex, and Kent, who work with veterans with mental health issues.
right, okay,
Because where I struggle myself, I now give back to veterans and help them kind of get well and on
yeah,
the journey.
yeah.
So a lot of people, yeah, Royal Marines, Royal Navy, Army, RAF, there's a lot of people within it.
Yeah, no, sadly, it doesn't surprise me. We've got quite a few followers, or I don't like saying ex-forces because it's like you've been sacked or something. I prefer to say retired, but that's just I'm weird. Well, so where's your head at now, man? Because I don't know, the thought of being trapped on a ship.
Mm. So yeah, I could talk about my journey.
Yeah, no,
If
go
we got
ahead,
time
man.
with that. So in 2020, I got very unwell with my depression. That was the kind of first time I could start to understand what's going on. I went out with a few lads from the base to watch the football, and actually, I ended up that night by an ambulance and then into a mental health unit for 3 weeks the next day in Somerset. From that journey, it kind of was then on different depressants. Had some therapy and started to get well again. And my belief, I don't think depression ever really leaves. Is how you manage it.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah. There's we're saying it all the time. Sometimes with long-term depression, you have to learn to live with it rather than suffer from it.
yeah,
Yeah, and it's a hard choice, but let's face it, resource. Well, you work for the NHS anyway, don't you?
I do now. Yes,
Yeah, so I'm alive because of the NHS. I think most people are, and all sorts. I'm never going to slag off. But the mental health services are very limited, and we can sit there in the pity party moaning about it and slagging it off, or we have to try and find ways to learn to live with it.
massively. And with that, the military is no different. The first time I told someone about my depression, they gave me a leaflet and told me to go away and read it.
Wow.
Um, and then it got worse, and then we got to the hospital stage, and they tried me on different medications, messed medications up. I went to a medical board in the Royal Navy. Unfortunately, after taking an overdose, about 60 tablets, ended up in the hospital for a week and a half, nearly died. Um,
They kick you
so
out for that.
yeah, I had to be discharged and medically discharged. And that's where I needed to stand up here and help everyone around me.
Yeah,
So I went into the community in Essex and worked with over 65 mental health, and
yeah.
then went into the veteran side to help build up employment and CVs. But then I moved 9 months ago after meeting my new missus, and moved to Surrey, and where I work with Op Courage Mental Health now, and I still do. But unfortunately, as we mentioned before, I'm off work for a bit due to having bad suicidal thoughts and dark thoughts at night time from trauma.
Yeah.
So I went under the crisis support for about 3 weeks under Sussex. There were parts there that didn't really agree with. Certain people didn't know, what to say and what to do. I'm now under the community team, and we're improving quite a lot. And now I'm returning hopefully back to work in a few weeks. So that's that's kind of my mental health kind of journey, really.
Yeah, no, absolutely. But I like the fact that you haven't given up.
Mm.
If I'm honest, I know that probably sounds arrogant. I know I don't mean it to be, but at least you've. So how do you keep the fight in you? Do you reckon that's a military thing, or just how your DNA is, or?
One, the military, but also it's a desire to help others. I
Yeah.
know there's other people that are in the dark place, and it's to be able to help them. Like my mum's a mental health nurse; she works on a PQ, so I have
Okay.
support with my mum and my partner, so I have amazing support. But it's also within you to do the homework and get the right support to be able to help others.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So you get you, so you can't. So if your mum's training, you can't exactly run away and say, I'm all right, go away."
I do
You-
try, but no, they know when my phrase is, "I'll be all right. I'm all right. I'm just okay." And but just by saying certain things, people start to really realize, okay, you're not really all right. So you can't mask it anymore.
Well, and that's the thing is, and I see this time and time again. I don't know how many videos are online now of me talking to men and all this. It's well over 300 now. I think it's well over that. I've kind of just given up counting now.
Yeah.
Where else, but that's the pattern. Is just like I think that's what we try and do with Man Up is right, try and get people talking,
Yes.
and but also get people to listen way
Massive.
way before the crazes set in.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Before somebody go, I don't know, when did you say you went out on the piss and then basically ended up in hospital? You did say that.
Yeah, so from that point, I was asking for help. I was saying I'm not okay, I'm not doing well, and I would bottle it up very well. I was with a very bad partner back then, and I was just told to just get off medication and man up and get on with it, and that was from home and the military, and it just ended up. Look, I'm a man, and I thought I was a military man that we're just a robot to get on, and actually I'm a human, and we need to talk and stand up and kind of show others it's okay to stand up and talk rather than kill that stigma at the moment. Does that make sense?
No,
Because
yeah, it does. It makes perfect sense. But I think that's also why we're telling people actually sometimes it's good to just shut up and listen. I know, so obviously I don't know nothing about it and I don't want to pass blame, but it sounds like you were one of those statistics. Like I think it's 91% of men who have completed suicide did try and ask for help. They did
yeah,
go to the doctors. They did speak to men. Well, I don't want to tell you all this, okay,
yeah,
but there's data on there. There's data on that. There's PhD research. Susie Bennett. Do you get what I mean? So it's
yeah,
like
yeah,
that's fine with us. Keep telling everybody to talk, 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 talk. That's fine. But if no one's willing to listen, then blokes are stubborn. What's the point of talking to somebody if you know damn well they're going to either laugh in your face or ignore it? What's the point?
exactly.
So I
And there's
just
a lot
went
of
on
that
to
in
a
the military.
rage there, mate. Sorry.
That's fine.
And because it really does annoy me. But what was you going to say? I interrupted you before I went on my little rampage.
No, no, it's fine. I totally agree with you. I just feel that the more that you speak about it, the more you can help others around you. Like, one of my key things to do is go to the gym, and I have to exercise and to keep the mind and keep it clear. Um,
The science, yeah, again, the science what backs that stuff up, isn't it? Really. And like I said the other day in a video, it's just there's a shop around the corner, a little Indian lady. She goes, I need to go and ask her actually, because she said an idle brain makes a lazy brain or something. It's an Indian saying.
okay.
And it's exactly the same with mental health, isn't it? We can get into that thing where if we don't take that step to help ourselves, walk down the garden, speak to a doctor, speak to the missus fellow, it doesn't really matter where it is. But
Mm,
we're going to get stuck there,
yeah,
and that's when we get really ill.
yeah, massively.
And that so So where are you at? I think you kind of said it, but so where are you at? Where are you at now then? I know you sound like you're bouncing up and down, but
Um, Things have been a lot better. They put me in the right medication now. We're still under the community for about 8 weeks now. But then returning back to work, I hope in a couple of weeks. But
yeah.
it's getting the right skills, the right coping skills to manage. Because where I'll be going to help other kind of. I don't like patients, other individuals who are struggling with their
Yeah.
mental health. So I'm going to take a lot on as well. So it's getting myself in a good place so I'm able to do so.
I was going to say that was going to be my next question as well, and most people have been literally down in the dumps and let's face it, the gutter of mental health, that
Yeah.
hole. When they start bouncing back a little bit, I sound like Alan Partridge, don't I? But when they start bouncing back, the first thing they want to do is start helping saving the world,
Yeah.
and that's absolutely fine. But what people don't realise, and I've done it myself with Man Up,
Yeah.
is you start reading stories, you start listening to stories over and over and over again.
Yeah.
What you don't realise is you've still got your own little demons kept flying about.
That's
Then
it.
you're taking on even more stuff,
Yep.
and you're trying to help other people. It's like, hold up a minute, I've gone mental again. And you don't know what's. And I've been there, done it. I've regular therapy and all sorts.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. You have to talk, you know.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. You've absolutely got to talk. So do you do therapy or anything like that? Have you been there, done that, or
I've done some, it kind of didn't work for me.
okay?
Yeah, again, some of the therapies that I've been to just kind of give you the paperwork and you've just got to work through it. And for me, I didn't agree with that.
Yeah,
Um, I feel therapy is good when you be able to speak to someone and really understand what you're going through and understand the problem rather than give all these tools before you understand what you're doing and what you're going through. Um,
yeah. No, yeah. I think I understand what you mean on that one. Yeah,
what I mean is, you could have all the problems, but if you don't understand what you can do about that issue, then you can't solve that issue. So you still have that issue.
yeah,
Therapy, if they give you these anxiety packs and you work through the anxiety packs, but you still have your issue on the side,
yeah.
well, that it isn't going to do as much as it can do until you've really dwelled into what you can do to make that issue better.
Yeah, no,
Uh,
I've got this. So how do you find your own issues?
With my issues, the ones I've been in the past, I lost about £70,000 in debt. And with that, I had to then reach out and get the right support from debt companies to
Oh, okay.
be able to move on forward. The problem, I was just dwelling on how much money I had to get and to move forward. But
Yeah,
actually, these debt companies that I could have gone to first and then work on anxiety and stuff. So what I'm trying to say is, you have these different issues. You've got to understand what that problem is so you can work through it,
yeah,
but also then have your therapy. Does that make sense?
yeah. No, no, that makes totally sense. But I think I hear what you're saying about the therapies. I've been through a few of them off and over the years, and I thought all of them are
Mhm.
crap,
Mm.
except one of the James is the one I've been with for like 2 years.
Okay.
And whatever else. But yeah, again, I know loads of people have been through hundreds, literally hundreds of therapists, and that doesn't work. But yeah, again, this is something what we keep preaching about with men's mental health, just anybody in general, is for me, therapy does work after trying loads of them.
Mm.
I do this, I do that. I race motorbikes, I do wild camping, so I have to make steps.
Massive.
Have I made sense? But with you, I presume with you, you probably would. I don't know. You'd never probably want to go sailing ever again. So
Mm.
why would you want to take up sailing? But find a hobby or even a purpose. What helps for you? And if therapy doesn't work, it doesn't work. But find something what it does.
Methods. Yeah, and I think as well, you have to have that connection as well. For me, I had a military kind of therapist at the moment, and we are able to get on because she understands a bit more about the military. Where the civilian lady I had in the past, she just told me to go downstairs and make a cup of tea, where actually I can't do that.
Yeah.
So you've got to understand the connections with the therapist as well to be able to move forward, to build that relationship.
I'd agree with you on that one because I think I said in a video years ago where we'll talk about all these services, like the chat services and whatever else.
Yeah, yeah,
And I think I said like the Samaritans in mind always come up in every single conversation. And do you know what they do? They do what they do in that world is very, very good and well done to them. Um, but I said this in a video with the army, I think. I went, if we get somebody come through who's a veteran or whatever else, that they've just come back from a tour of Afghanistan because we're all floating about when all of that
yeah.
happened. Yeah, again, I don't want to trigger you on anything, so I apologise.
That's fine.
But when all that happened, when you've got a veteran or even let's say a sailor who's completely lost the plot,
Mm.
you can't send them to Samaritans because no one at Samaritans can relate to them.
Yeah,
Send
yeah, I've
them
had
to
that
like,
issue.
do you get what I mean? Yes. Send them through to like the combat stresses and op courage is the other one,
Yeah,
isn't it? There's a
yeah.
few out there, and
That's right.
PTSD resolution is also quite a good one as well.
Yeah, there is, yeah.
But yet again, if you've been there, done that, and that's not working, well, just find what does work.
But sometimes you're not in the right place to get that help either. So that's one thing
Very
you
well.
have,
Yeah,
you know.
yeah. So how long did it take you to actually go? Well, I need to sort this out, or was it literally full blown crazy?
To be honest, it's very impulsive. Like one minute it was fine, next minute, next day, I was ready to go. So I think it was a lot to do with how I was coping with things. Drinking alcohol quite heavily, and then it
Right.
just led into a lot after that. Um, which a lot of people do rely on alcohol, and I think that's another thing that it doesn't help. So it's something that people look towards, but actually that's not the right result. So
Yeah, alcohol's a depressant. It's as simple as that.
I agree, but also sometimes I feel that's a bit of accelerator. Depends on what mood you're in. So it can accelerate in both directions. So, for example, if you're in a great mood, then actually at that point it will accelerate you to be even better.
Yeah.
So sometimes, yes, it is a depressant, but also have we saw it in the military, it was also an accelerator. So one minute, if you're low, it will drive you even lower. But if you're actually on the high, then it will drive you, a bit more up. So it's getting the fine balance within that. Does that make sense?
No, it does. And after speaking with quite a few retired alcoholics and all that kind of stuff, they've kind of said that same thing as well. But trying to chase that balance can cause into massive problems
Oh,
as well, can't
massively.
it? Like
Oh,
massive.
I've given up drinks.
Second, sorry.
I don't drink anymore. I've given up. So
I don't drink that much anymore. I've forgotten the last time I've been drunk and all this kind of stuff, but I can kind of just take it or leave it now. I really can. I think it's like anything though, isn't it? Is if you're doing anything to just try and get away from your problems rather than dealing with your problems, people who go to the gym, they're the worst ones for
are
it.
we?
Well, actually, I think it's dying down, but the whole lot body dysmorphia and all this kind of stuff. I'm starting to see that there are some people they go there to get away from the misses or the fact doesn't remember how they to get away from stuff to
Yeah,
switch off their brain, and they get quite obsessed about it.
yeah,
The trouble is their problems are still there when when they
yeah.
exit the gym. And I think
Okay.
if you're doing anything like that, I don't know, like that. I know someone who's got into poker and he was supposed to be really good. I'm only going by what he said, but then he worked out actually that was his fix.
Yeah,
He went from really good to really, really bad, but his problems were still there. The
yeah. I
trouble
agree with.
because he wasn't dealing with the problems,
Yeah.
he's now got like 150 grand's worth of debt he's got to deal with and all this kind of stuff.
And back to the gym, I was going there and I would go there to make sure that, I could feel what I was going through. So I was kind of, in a sense, self-harming because I was going there and I was hitting it that hard. I was starting to get injuries. So back to your valid point, you're far correct because, it does happen. We do go to the gym and stuff. But also off of that, I think also social media is also something that nowadays where it's also a really big issue with mental health.
Well, it is, yeah. I think there's a few things going on with social media. It's just what the good thing about social media is it gives everyone a voice.
Mm,
The bad side of it is they presume everyone needs to listen to it.
yeah,
And then there's other things like comparison. Like I don't know, we're built as a society. We're now training human beings to
yeah,
watch other people's lives rather than living our own.
I went through that though myself when back in August of 2020 when I went in the mental home. Before that, a few weeks from that, I was comparing myself. Where why haven't I got that car, that house? And actually, they're not happy, but I thought they were. And I'd compare myself and started to think I needed to do things and got into property management where I lost a load of money.
Yeah.
Cost me more mental health issues. But from that, I just tried to be better and better and better. Actually, that wasn't happiness. So yeah, I can really understand with comparing yourself to, sometimes it's not the best thing to do. And it actually makes things worse.
Yeah, no, exactly that. That's why I have all my notifications turned off and all this kind of stuff. And even with like places like TikTok, I don't even bother going on those.
Yeah.
It's just scumbaggery. It really is of just yeah. It's just everyone just moaning or watching other people live their lives. I'd sooner just enjoy my own.
Yeah.
But really the best I can, and that's so just for bloody hell, we've gone through that one, so we're going to call it down because blokes are lazy that don't watch anything longer than 20 minutes. I've worked that one out. So I think you've answered it. So I apologise if, but we always end the video of like if somebody's triggered, whatever fancy word, or can relate to this. What would you tell them to do?
What do you mean? What triggered by what we spoke about?
Yeah,
Or
it could be. Yeah, absolutely. Or just someone's just watching this and they're in, I don't know, 70 grand's worth of debt, or feel like the crazies are just
I
kicking in.
mean, turn to someone that you trust to start off with. Turn to someone that you can, if you got your loved one that you trust, then turn to them and speak to them and speak up. Because every problem halved is, problem shared is halved. But also there is things out there. There is lines out there to reach out to who will speak on confidential, and it's only you two speaking. Um, who can then signpost you to that advice. For example, my job at the moment is peer support worker in Op Courage. So if a military person or a veteran person come to me and said, look, I've got all this debt or got this issue, then it's my job to also help them, signpost them and help them go to the right place to get that right support. So, it's about speaking up and speaking to that right person to be able to go forward.
Yeah, no,
You know,
absolutely.
does that make sense? Does that answer your
And
question?
no, it makes perfect sense, mate. It really does. And I think this is why Man Up works because I feel like I'm constantly on repeat.
Yeah.
But there'll be somebody watching this going, oh, Dan's doing his bloody preach again. But then they'll listen to you and they're like, oh, I hadn't thought about it like that. And I think that's just why it works.
Yeah.
So but that's a good one. But let me hit the record button. Bear with me 1 second now, mate. That was a good one.